I'd like to introduce Ron Ottoson to the College of DuPage Athletic Hall of Fame. And Ron is definitely, without a doubt, deserving of this honor. He's one of the true College of DuPage pioneers. He started with the school when it first started. I guess that was back in late 60s sometime. And Ron built a powerhouse junior college track program out of nothing. He started at a brand new school, no track, no indoor track, no outdoor track, and he built it into a junior college powerhouse without the aid of a track, without the aid of scholarships like most other junior colleges had. And every year when the Division I, there was only one division back then in the junior college athletics, and every year, I know the other teams, they always knew College of DuPage was going to bring some athletes. So Ron, again, he started with nothing, and through his influence and his power and his charismatic nature, he was able to recruit kids and coach them up, and he would grab kids out of the hallway with no track experience and turn them into really good track athletes. There was a time when that was in the 80s when College of DuPage was the premier track program in the Chicagoland area. We would win several times, won the Chicagoland championships, beating Division I schools like Loyola, Northwestern, DePaul, UIC, Division II schools like Lewis, and all the Division III schools. And that would happen year in and year out back there in the 80s when Ron really had it rolling. So Ron, congratulations. You are definitely deserving of this honor. I coached alongside Ron, but he would coach all the weight men. And when I think of Ron, I think of, here was a guy in like January and February when the weather was just atrocious. You know, it might be raining out, it'd be sloppy, and there would be Ron taking all the weight men outside to teach them the hammer throw. And I remember days having my guys, I would coach the runners, and I was inside, happy to be inside. And then, you know, you'd see Ron come in with his guys, and they'd be all wet and cold and dirty from throwing the hammer throw in the mud. And they didn't have the hammer throw in high school, so Ron would have to teach these kids the basics. All the big guys, he would just take them out there, and he loved it. He didn't mind the cold. He didn't mind. He loved teaching. Ron Addison was not just a coach; he was a teacher, and it didn't matter whether a kid had never thrown the hammer before. He was out there teaching them, and coaching them up, and just teaching them all the basics. And it was amazing how many kids he turned from nothing into great track athletes. One name comes to mind is Horacio Garcia, a kid out of West Chicago that Ron grabbed out of the weight room. And I don't think he even participated in track in high school. And Ron saw him in there every day lifting weights and said, this kid's got the dedication, this kid could be good. And Ron turned him into an All-American hammer thrower that got a scholarship to, I believe it was Florida State. He was an All-American there on the Division I level. And Ron did that repeatedly with a lot of kids. College of DuPage track records are better than the vast majority of the NCAA Division I schools from top to bottom. 7.2.5 in the high jump, 4.08 in the mile, 25-foot long jumper. It just goes on with the remarkable athletes that the College of DuPage had, and they were drawn here because of Ron Ottoson. It's an honor for me to be able to sit here and do this and to recognize you, because a lot of people don't follow track and field. Football, basketball are the top sports. They always have been, probably always will. But at the College of DuPage, track and field was definitely a major sport, and that was because of your influence. And everybody around the Chicagoland area, if they knew anything about track, they knew about the College of DuPage because of its track program. Again, the records speak for themselves. So congratulations, Ron, and best of luck.
Ron Ottoson built a track and field powerhouse over his 30-plus year association with the Chaparrals. He served as head coach from 1968 to 1988 and returned in 1994 for 2 seasons. Including his 7 seasons as cross-country coach, he coached 93 track and field and 3 cross-country All-Americans. 9 individuals won national championships under his direction, and 20 of his teams won state outdoor and indoor championships. He totaled 19 State Coach of the Year accolades in both track and field and cross-country. He is a member of the NJCAA Hall of Fame, the Illinois Track and Cross Country Coaches Association Hall of Fame, and the Region 4 Hall of Fame. College of DuPage's track and field complex is named in his honor. Please welcome Ron Ottoson to the stage.
You want me to speak after that? My God. Wonderful. And thank you, Mike Considine, who put it together. He was my distance coach for 12 years or more. You know, I lost track. And I can't believe half of that, to be pretty honest with you. So you all know Jane. Please, she's responsible for this, and she deserves a lot of credit. Jane, stand up. Oh boy, bear with me now, will you please? This table over here is full of my people. And let me introduce them. There's Kay Addison, my wife, and rocks for the whole family. Without her, none of this would be possible. Christine, stand up, will you please, Christine? Come on, stand up. That's my daughter and her husband, John. John, stand up and say. There's my son, Eric Addison. The only one in that group that's a track person. He was a big one at the U of I and 3 times place winner and went to the Nationals for U of I. Who's next there? Oh, Audrey Mahoney. There's a name for you. Audrey Mahoney, would you stand up and wave you? She's my granddaughter. Next, Molly Addison. That's my granddaughter. Stand up, Molly. And Josie, would you stand up, please? She does something I wish I could have done for years. She's on a rowing team at Lane Tech. The rowing team. I love it. That's what I do all summer long. I don't know. All right. That's my family, and I'm very proud of them. The history of this DuPage track team is very interesting. Get your notepads out. We started in 1968 and lasted for 13 years without any facilities whatsoever, nor any place to put our equipment. So I bought a station wagon. All right? This gets funnier. And I would put all the equipment in the station wagon and travel from meet to meet or to practice. And it was generally a different practice every once in a while. We practice at North Central. We practice at Wheaton. We practice at Benedictine. And any place else I could find. We practiced. But we always got our practice in, no matter what the weather, no matter what, we were there. After that, those dates, we had some facilities. We could go back in the old gym. The basketball team couldn't use it from then on, and we got some practice on campus. And then when we got our indoor facility and our outdoor facility, wow, it was wonderful. and it was easier. Now, pardon me. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. When we ran a meet, it would be always in a somebody else's facility, but our officials were neighbors of mine, or people that taught at the College of DuPage that were very generous of their time. The only one that we paid was a starter, and he was always in my back pocket. Okay. All the equipment, as I said, was stored in my basement, from the back of the car to the basement, and it was always dry down there. I have to say that. So it was okay from meet to meet. The kids, of course, had to buy their own shoes and so forth, but their spikes. But once again, I worked a deal with the local shoe man, and we did pretty good. So our kids were supplied there without having to pay them because they're expensive. All right? Oh, what else we did at home? All our team parties, at the end of the season and beginning of the season and so forth, were in our backyard. We had a huge backyard, and guess who did all the preparing? Was Kay. She did a good job. I want to start mentioning all the great athletes that were in our program, and I'm going to have to refer to our little notepad here. The number one, of course, was Tom Puxtis, Olympiad twice, national record holder for a few years anyway, right, Tom? And he did a heck of a job at the college, and we're proud of him. But other than that, he was a national record holder, by the way. Jim Sukalowski. You know Jim Sukalowski? He was a kid that was a decathlete and a high jumper. And circumstances were that it rained like heck in Texas for a national championship. And he end up third in a decathlon. And he had to run the 1,500, the last event of the last day of the meet, and he had all kinds of blisters and everything else in his feet. I taped him up. Guess what? He went 7, 2 3/4 to win the national championship in high jump. Can you believe that? I couldn't. When I saw him soar, I said, that jump would have been 7.5. I mean, he was way over it, and he was only 5'10". It was a marvelous. He's going to be hopefully in the Hall of Fame one of these days. Mark Rao from Glenbard West. He was, no matter what event I put him in, he'd win. He was an intermediate hurdler. He was a 400 man. He ran a 600. He led the nation when he was at Kansas. He was recruited by Kansas. He held the record for the 600 at Kansas and still holds it. Just a wonderful achievement. By the way, he's living with a family. I mean, he has his own family, and all these guys are retired, I think. Mike Bellamy. You want to meet nice people? Mike Bellamy. When I first met Mike, he was with a buddy. I don't remember who the buddy was, but he walked in and I was busy. So he sat down and asked me about the program and so forth, and we had a great conversation. I says, this kid is going to be something. As it turned out, he was. He is now one of the football coaches at U of I, and so we're going to get some tickets. And he's still a record holder in 100. 10-3, 10-3, which is really good. Tom Sullivan, who was our first national champion in what event? The hammer. Coach did things with the hammer I think no other coaches did because they didn't want to be around it when it was thrown. He was our first national champion. Mike Makinich, our ex-president's son, is another one that has a record in the 400 and went to Georgia Tech, track scholarship, and really did well. And now, what is he? Is he 40? 52. Am I talking about something in the past? Tim O'Grady, a shot put coach and a coach that coached the weights, threw for us for the 2 years, of course, and did well. Placed in a national meet, and he was my weight coach for I'd say 8-9 years for a while. It's wonderful. Horacio Garcia has already been mentioned. He was, the university I mentioned was wrong. He was at the University of Arizona, and I think he won that conference. Which is it? SAC or SEC or something? I don't know. All those Western schools, University, UCLA and USC and so forth. He won that conference the second time out. Steve Paraguay. Steve was coaching at one of the Glenbard schools, or could have been, and he was our decathlete, holds our decathlon record, and he was a great addition to this team. Just the way he worked out was tremendous. And then, of course, our first woman came out. Her name was Karen Lachlan out of Wheaton. And she's won the national championship in a 400, and we didn't have women's team. She was so awesome, but that's all she lasted. And I think from then on, I don't know what she did. It's too bad all those kids aren't here, so we can congratulate them. I just have a couple stories that I want to put out. I received a letter from a young man by the name of Mike Shane. My first high school that I coached at was Austin. I was only there 1 year, and I went to Schurz after that, and then Oak Park, and then finally to College of DuPage. And I was teaching a gym class, and here's this kid. I said, my God, what's he doing not out for track? So I got him out for track. He threw the track. He ran a quarter, ran the hurdles, and ended up coaching and teaching, coaching track and teaching at a small school. Met his wife, married. He's now retiring. Can you believe that? He's retiring, and well, anyway, I called him and I said, what in the world? You send me a letter saying how much you enjoyed something that happened 50 years ago. And he said, that's where I got my emphasis from you, Coach. And I tell you what, it makes me almost cry. Last comment. I'm very proud of my family. That's number one. The greatest athletes I've had made this program. I didn't. They did. They had a desire to succeed. And if you don't have facilities and have to train in a hallway, I didn't mention that. We trained in the third floor hallway before it was finished built. All it was concrete. And we trained there. And we had kids that did well. I'll tell you something. I don't know what, but if you get a chance, get over to the college. I mean, all of you probably have been through the college, but if you haven't been through the college, this place is increased in size. It's beautiful, and at outdoor track you have to walk on. It's the Ron Addison track. Thank you, and I appreciate being here and being a member of the Hall of Fame. It's wonderful. Thank you.